morning, one and all. What we are today is the result of what we valued yesterday, and what we will be tomorrow will be the result of what we value today. These prophetic words of Swami Vivekananda of 19th century aptly foresaw the importance of ethical and moral codes of education of any society. Well, in this contextual background, let me cite the 4 stages of David Taylor, which he proposed to take for an individual to achieve success. These 4 stages to achieve success are: know where you want to go, know where you are now, and know what you have to do to get where you want to go. And fourth, last but not least, let's do that. Let's do it. If we took these stages for placing India's stories in it, then certainly we would be in a position to know about the status, about our aspiration and achievement on the front of working of our education system, particularly the higher education system in India. Well, India's story, what we were, what we are, what we aspire to become. Dear friends, the first phase of the India story happens to be that if we see the side view mirror of the journey traveled so far by Indians, then we could see that we had started our journey in 1947. During those days, Indian used to be seen with an image of snake charmer by rest of the world. Reason may be probably our lower literacy rate, which was just nearly 17%, or maybe British rule. But history has witnessed that how, even with this image, we could have drafted and taken possession of one of the best constitution of world, which inter alia protect the interest of every citizen by securing secular and democratic values of education. So friends, in this background, India started its journey with this glorious phase, with full of deeply rooted ethos, values and transparency in education. Those days, Indian educational leadership, our social leadership, our political leadership and community leadership, all were having different kind of values and ethics. They were still guided by our freedom struggle movement and cultural ethos. But with the passage of time, India's story witnessed an era, particularly in the last 2 or 3 decades of 20th century, when we started a blind race towards growth, profit, maximization of profit, and in that growth-centered approach, Indian education sector also took a tilt toward instrumentalist view. This instrumentalist view, which called for generating capable human resource who can contribute in growth, in profit, maximization of profit, and please mark, profit even at the cost of suffering of the poor, disadvantaged and subaltern. All over the world, nations began to measure themselves in terms of knowledge, to the extent that World Development Report of 1998 placed knowledge and know-how in a central phase or place in the process of development, to the extent that this wind of this growth-centered approach influenced in changing the name of our Union Ministry of Education. Well, once Professor Upendra Bakshi has rightly remarked that an eminently forgettable education minister of India, Sri P.C. Chundar, successfully renamed Union Ministry of Education as Ministry of Human Resource Development. Thereafter, Indian education system was being taken as no more than a construction of human, construction of capital, social capital. Furthermore, LPG era came in India, and that certainly added fuel into the cynicism. Post 1990, with the emergence of liberalization, privatization and globalization, market of education got developed, and wherein students and teacher seems buyer and seller of this market respectively. Gone are the days of golden triangle of wisdom, knowledge and information, as rightly pointed out once by T.S. Eliot, that lost wisdom to the knowledge and that of knowledge to the information. What Peter Drucker in one of his writings said, being witnessed by entire world including India, he had said the next society will be a knowledge society in which knowledge will be a resource and knowledge worker will be the dominant workforce. Now we were about to enter in second stage of India's story, what and who we are now. Well, we do have positive as well as negative side of this India story. Undoubtedly, presently, we are capable enough of ruling the ICT world of this artificial intelligence with largest democratic setup with 74.4% literacy rate as per census 2011. We do have names like Sundar Pichai, Narayan Murthy, Nandan Nilekarni, and list is inclusive one. These all made us feel proud and aided into fascination of India's story. We do have demographic dividend wherein 65% of our population are of less than 35 years of age. We are about to become youngest nation throughout the world, but at the same time we do have dark side of this India story too. No denial in saying that our journey traveled so far made us accustomed for giving rise to a culture in which greatness get reduced to grossness, sincerity to smartness, smartness to cleverness, and cleverness to cunningness, and cunningness to criminal behavior, be it a Satyam, be it a call scam, be it a Commonwealth scam, black money scam, Vijay Mallya scam, PNB scam. Here also list happens to be inclusive one. These all are crime against humanity, and these made us feel frustrated too. Well, coming to third phase of India's story, what we aspire to become. Dear friends, with this largest demographic dividend, we aspire to become human resource capital of world. Still, a large chunk of Indian population, particularly the middle class, have been running blindly towards getting an access to these educational institutions of national importance by cracking their tough entrance exam. There has been a mushrooming growth of privately owned tuition center in a small town like Kota corroborated. There has been an immense family pressure on these young students studying there in Kota, which is of such a higher range that as many as 19 students have committed suicide in Kota last year in 2018. Well, instead of mulling over for anti-suicidal ceiling fan as they are doing over with, administration need to know the real cause of the problem and need to do counseling of students as well as of their parents. Well, as rightly quoted by Dr. Prasad, the best product of our educational institution have overdeveloped mind and underdeveloped hearts. Though it cannot be generalized, I am not going to make it generalized, as these observations are not to condemn the significant positive contribution of the product of our leading educational institution, but to build a discourse for the need and importance of education as a value building and lifelong learning activity. I am citing all these instances. Please mark that if our demographic dividend, of which we are relishing a lot today, is not imbibed with ethics and values, it can be converted into a demographic disaster. Also, let's have a glance of the present schooling and teaching profession now. Last year in January, a news came from Rajkot of state Gujarat pertaining to nerve-wracking murder by throwing his ailing paralyzed mother from terrace to kill her by her own 36-year-old well-educated professor. Within a month from this brutal murder by a professor's son, the nation again got stunned with a shocking news that came from Alwar of state of Rajasthan, wherein a teacher killed his 82-year-old paralytic mother. The whole incident was caught on camera by his nephew. Also recently, a Chamba Special Court in Himachal Pradesh convicted a government primary school teacher on the charge of rape and sexual harassment of 8 minor girl students of class 3rd, 4th and 5th and sentenced him to life imprisonment. These are only few examples. Time and again, these kind of ghastly, horrifying and mind-boggling incidents keep on occurring in our country and undoubtedly keep on making us mum and forced us to introspect our journey we have traveled so far. Well, coming to the ethical and moral codes deficit in India. If we locate and compare the existence of ethical and moral values at the time of independence and as of today, then certainly it triggers a great debate and discussion on the need and importance of ethical and moral code of counseling in education. There has been an ethical and moral deficit in present day society. So friends, India's story is full of fascination and as well as full of frustration. It is full of conundrum. At the same time, it is full of hope, which is the real background of this present module. Where does the solution lies now? How to implement the ethical and moral codes? Friends, schooling should not come in the way of education. Education cannot be put into a straitjacket formula of schooling. Rather, education happens to be a lifelong learning as well as unlearning process and is of more than a way of being, it is an art of becoming. Education do not aim only at academic pursuit, rather it is pursuit of moral wisdom also. Friends, practice what you preach. A small story of great Guru Ramakrishna Paramhans, who happened to be teacher of Swami Vivekananda, wherein he did the counseling of a small kid, is quite relevant in this present context. But the story is all about that once there was an old lady living with her only grandson, and that small kid was so much of fond of eating jaggery that he developed a bad habit of eating more and more, which that poor lady neither could afford nor it was good for child health. She was told by many about a guru who was so good in counseling and even having panacea of every problem, including disease like cancer. Poor lady approached the guru and shared all her pain to him. Guru asked her to come next time. After a period of 6 months, poor lady again went to Guru, and now within no time, Guru could convince the small kid for getting rid of that bad habit of eating too much jaggery. After absorbing this hardly 5-minute counseling, poor lady could not stop, and she stared at Guru and asked with little bit anger that if it's just a 5-minute exercise task for you, then why you made me wait for such a long period of 6 months? Replying to poor lady, Guru asked that how could I help you that time when even I was suffering from the same habit. It took me 6 months to get rid out of that habit. So now it is appropriate time that I could do counseling of your ward and do justice with the task assigned to me. Practice what you preach is the greatest value for describing the duty of teachers towards nation building. Once Mahatma Gandhi rightly pointed out and highlighted that the teacher himself must possess the virtue that he wants to inculcate in students. This means that teacher must practice this virtue himself, otherwise his words will have no effect. Another story, as cited by J.S. Rajput in one of his research papers, is all about that one day a professor at Johns Hopkins University in the USA came across an old research paper written some 25 years back. It was survey research paper on the background of 220 black students from the slum of New York City. In conclusion, the researcher had predicted that 90% of them land in jail one time or another in their life. Realizing the full of potential, the professor sent out a team of his students to gather information on the current status of these 220 old students. Of them, 198 could be traced. Surprisingly, inquiry revealed that only 4 of them had any prison background. This was such a significant deviation from the earlier research-based conclusion that he pushed the inquiry further. He found that 75% of them were taught by one single particular teacher. Now he tried to trace out this lady teacher and succeeded in finding out her address. The teacher, now very old, was staying neglected in a retirement home. She was asked one single question: what special method did you employ? What curriculum did you design for these 198 students. She had forgotten them, nor did she remember anything of past. She simply said one single sentence, "I don't know. Well, I loved them." Dear friends, love never failed. As rightly pointed out once by Swami Vivekananda, love never fails. Today or tomorrow or ages after, truth will conquer. Love shall win the victory. John Dewey also assumed phenomenal relevance over here. While we don't dismiss altogether the relevance and importance of instrumentalist view of education in which skill building is the foundation, but my worry, our worry, should be the low priority, rather ignoring larger social purpose of education, recourse to which is much more required for building a society of human beings, by human, for human, living in harmony with each other and with nature. Once Justice J.S. Verma, while quoting a learned author in his lecture which he delivered at Jamia Millia Islamia University on 28th October 2003 as a part of UGC Golden Jubilee lecture series, he said, as society becomes more and more complex, the institutions are pressed to assume social obligation, to train for employment, to solve social problems, to help set ethical direction for the society. Thus, imparting ethical values as a significant constituent of education is no longer merely a persuasive, but it's a constitutional imperative, it being essential for development and for realizing the full potential of human person. So friends, education system of our country should aim at realizing a balance between instrumentalist view and social purpose view by nurturing unity of mankind and securing peace, prosperity and happiness in the life of individual and society. As has been rightly pointed out by Mahatma Gandhi, that we need to establish equilibrium between mind, heart and soul. So the need of hour happens to be that equilibrium. You must be aware of KSA, knowledge, skill and attitude model of counseling. Friends, it's very difficult to change attitude. Though we can easily change knowledge, we can easily change skill, but for changing attitude, certainly one has to die to go to heaven. As once rightly observed by David R. Orr, that the plain fact is that this planet does not need more successful people, but this does desperately need more peacemaker, more healer, more restorer, storyteller and lover of every kind. Friends, I just try to build a discourse by highlighting the need and the importance of ethical and moral codes of education, which you need to carry forward. You may further deliberate, further brainstorm on the topic at your discussion platform. Please have a good day. Thank you.